BetQL Daily, Joe O, Sammy P with you. All right, let's take a look at the player awards. A little bit of shifting after another week in the NFL, and we're just checking to see if there is any value. Now, a week ago, the big story was Josh Allen flipped with Mahomes. Josh Allen became the favorite after his Monday Night Football performance. And then after his Sunday Night Football performance, Josh Allen is no longer the favorite. We're back to Patrick Mahomes. It is really close between these two. BetMGM posting a plus 240 on Mahomes, a plus 260 on Allen. Same story as a week ago. After those two, quite the divide to Lamar, Stroud, Sam Darnold. All double digits. Sam Darnold is the fifth favorite on this Tuesday. That is the headline from the MVP odds, that Sam Darnold is the fifth favorite with those top-notch quarterbacks.
So it's so funny you bring up Sam Darnold because I do the show Shopping the Bulldog on Fridays. You do it on Wednesday or Thursday, right? In Buffalo?
Thursday.
Don't you go on with them? So we both hit them bang, bang. You hit them on Thursday. I hit them on Friday. And they're hysterical. They also gamble. And
Yes.
I was telling them before the game against Miami that they should bet, or was it, no, who did they beat? Jacksonville, sorry. They were a 5.5 point favorite against Jacksonville on Monday night. And I had told those guys on Friday, hey, Josh Allen is 7-1 to win the MVP. I think this is the time to buy the stock because he plays on Monday night. So he plays that great game, goes to the favorite, and they were all like, yeah, he's 2-1. And I said, okay, guys, it's not done. Now you got to bet somebody else. Now you got to add to the portfolio. And the two guys we talked about were Lamar Jackson at 22-1 and Sam Darnold at 35-1. Shop brought up Darnold and said, why not? He's on an undefeated team. They're getting healthier on offense. They brought Addison back, who had, I believe, 20 fantasy points, depending on the league that you're in. He was awesome in that game against Green Bay. And Hockenson is on the way back. Look at the prices there. Lamar Jackson from 20-1 down to 10-1. Sam Darnold's prices get cut from 35 to 11-1. So crazy movement in this market week after week. The conversation now, is there anybody you want to bet north of 15? Is it Brock Purdy at 18-1? This is a very good point, I would think, to buy him. I can't do Goff. I don't think I could do Burrow either at 30-1 because it's a team award in a sense that you have to be on a really good team. We don't usually see NFL players win the MVP from a team that goes 9-8 or 10-7. It's usually a top 2 team, top 3 team in the conference, and it's usually a quarterback. So the guys that check those boxes right now are Mahomes, Allen, Jackson, Darnold, Stroud. And Purdy, I guess, to an extent, but that's basically it.
Ben Fox tweeted this morning that there was a bettor that put $250 on Sam Darnold to win the MVP late June at 300-1.
Holy crap. Wow.
How'd you like to be holding that ticket? Truly incredible. Okay, further down the board. He missed time, so I don't even know if he could. And I brought this team up in the futures. So that's kind of my thought process there. And this was a guy that was one of the more popular bets in the offseason for MVP. Jordan Love is 60.
Do you want me to respond to that, or are you just going to stare at the camera?
When I stop talking, that's when you jump in usually. That's the idea. But how much time can you miss? I guess that's part of it. If you're going against guys that are going to play the entire season, how much time can you miss? You could miss the last game when it doesn't matter, but is it worse when you miss time earlier in the season?
No, because it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And if he can play at a high level for the next 3 months, he's going to have every chance to win it. The only thing with Jordan Love, though, is he's already missed 2 games. And Malik Willis, ironically, went 2-0 in those games. But if he misses another game, he's cooked. He just can't win it. You can't miss 3 games and win the MVP. Now, he needs to stay on the field. He needs to play at a high level, and he needs to put up numbers. And I like what Matt LaFleur can do with quarterbacks. We've seen that. We've seen him develop this kid from a guy who last year, remember last October, is he even a starter in the league? Question mark. To down the stretch, wow, Packers are a top 5 offense. So the potential is there for sure. But if he tweaks one more thing and misses a week, he can't win it. Where's my guy Kyler Murray at? Because I think there's so much potential there. They just Arizona is so up and down. That's a damn roller coaster, that team.
He did
And
nothing
I
against
was
the Commanders.
I know that was alarming. That was alarming. Jaden Daniels outplaying Kyler Murray in his 4th game in the NFL.
66.
That's not
bet him
I bet
down.
55 before the year. That's
Yeah.
not going to win. That's not going to
No.
win. I've had a good season so far. That was not my best idea to bet Kyler Murray.
As I'm looking over the Super Bowl odds to start, we'll get to some things that jump out for conference division, miss playoffs as well, whatever's on your mind, Sammy. But the first thing that comes to mind after the first month of the NFL season is I'm going over the numbers, and I'm talking at the very top of the board. These are supposed to be the teams that you believe in, that you can envision winning the Super Bowl. And I'm just going through it, and this league changes so much week to week, so it's going to change a lot month to month. Imagine what it's going to be like once we're around the holidays, how different our opinions are going to be on some of these teams. But even at the top of the board, I'm going down. I'm like, nope, don't trust them. Don't trust them. Don't like this. Don't like that. Maybe it's just because of the parity. Maybe it's similar to Major League Baseball in that way, which we'll talk about those playoffs coming up in 20 minutes. But top KC, your favorite. Okay. They've got so many injuries. They got another massive blow over the weekend. San Francisco, similar story with the injuries. Detroit, they don't have a defense. That's on display last night. I go Houston. We've got them as overrated, not unimpressive. They haven't covered a game yet. Philadelphia, dealing with injuries. How much do you trust Hurts? He keeps turning the ball over. You get to the Jets with Rodgers and Salah. What's going on there? These are teams that are 20, 25 to 1 or shorter, the teams that we should be trusting. But Sam, the majority of those teams for me, I'm putting lines through them. I'm not interested right now.
Especially the ones at the top because of the price. I think we all like Kansas City and fear Kansas City in the postseason because Mahomes is the best player with ice water in his veins, who has been to, I believe, 6 straight AFC championship games and now has 3 Super Bowl rings. So it's not that we don't respect Kansas City. It's that we don't like them at the price of 5-1. And you're right. The uncertainty around the league creates more confidence for the books in Mahomes, because it's one thing to beat Kansas City when they're shorthanded in week 4 or week 8 or week 11, but they find ways to win in the playoffs. They are the Patriots of the last 20 years. They just win in the playoffs and they know how to get deep because they have big time players who have played at this level before. So I bet Kansas City before the year at 6-1. They're, undefeated, and the number has moved a whole dollar down. That's it. Only 5-1.
Shorter.
It bet them.
Yeah.
So I don't really have much value on my preseason bet. Although I did see this yesterday. Matthew Berry floated this out on Twitter. He brought up the possibility, and I don't know if it's possible financially, but he had said yesterday on X, what if Miami calls Kansas City and says, hey, Tua's out. We're not going to win this year. We're going to go in a different direction. Do you want Tyreek Hill back? And I thought, whoa. Wait a minute. Does this even add up? Do they have the cap space? And I still don't have that answer. I'm sure that they could get creative with the cap and maybe Tyreek would restructure his contract. But can you imagine right now if they had Xavier Worthy and Tyreek Hill in Kansas City? They're going to do something. They have to make a trade. They have to. They can't possibly go into the postseason with this room of receivers. You really only have one guy that you can count on right now, and that's a rookie, Xavier Worthy, because Hollywood Brown is out. Rashee Rice is going to be out for an extended period of time. Kelsey is clearly saving juice for the playoffs. But can you imagine the reuniting of Mahomes and Reed and Tyreek Hill. I hadn't even thought about that, but that would certainly change my thought process on Kansas City.
Okay, teams you do trust. I trust those two teams that played Sunday night. And I'm not going to look at that Buffalo result and say, oh, that's a massive downgrade. Like they walked into that buzzsaw and it was the Derrick Henry game that we've been waiting on, that we talked all offseason. That's why they made that big move. I trust both of those teams. And there's a couple teams in the NFC North I trust with what we've seen out of Minnesota early. And this might sound silly. I'm not including Detroit on that list. I think the Packers are going to be just fine. Somebody had to lose that game, and he puts up almost 400 yards. Turnovers were an issue, especially early for Green Bay, but I think the Packers numbers are pretty enticing. There are a number of futures. I'm like, okay, I can see some value there. Sam, they're 27-1 for the Super Bowl. That basically my point is that NFC is pretty wide open.
I would rather look for a team on the NFC side, no doubt about it, because unfortunately the AFC goes through Kansas City, and Kansas City is a huge favorite against, any of these pretender teams in the AFC. Like if Cincinnati gets into the playoffs with that horrendous defense right now, Kansas City might be, they were a 6.5 point favorite in week 2. So imagine a playoff game, Arrowhead, got to beat Mahomes. It's 7. So if you're looking for a sleeper down the board in the AFC, understand you have to go through Kansas City at some point in time. So that crosses off Indianapolis for me, the Chargers for me, the Steelers. I can't go down the board in the AFC. But what you can do is you can take advantage of a very, very injured top of the NFC and some middle teams that haven't really proven anything yet. So I went to 2 teams. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to ask you this question because they have the same price in the market. And I know what my answer is, but I'm curious to know how you answer it because I know how the public would answer it right now. But you are not the public, Mr. Joe O. These teams are both 25-1 to win the NFC. Behind door number 1.
I already know one of them. I already know one of them. Go ahead.
Behind door 1 is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah, that's
25-1 to win the NFC. And by the way, I wrote this down on the notepad yesterday on the Post-it. 2.5, long gone. They blasted Buccaneers yesterday. I was waiting until today. It's down to 1.5 already. They took the 2.5 off the board. So this Post-it note does not count. So Tampa is one team at 25-1 to win the NFC. The other team, the Washington Commanders.
I knew Tampa was going to be one of your teams because I wrote them down. I was like, oh, Sam's going to want to talk about this one. 25-1 for the NFC. If he doesn't bring it up, I'm going to make sure that I bring it to his attention. Tampa Bay. I think that's easy. And I'm not the biggest Baker guy in the world. Yeah, I don't even think that's close, man. Jayden Daniels has been outstanding, okay? But we know the Commanders don't have a defense. I'm not going to read too much into what happened against the Cardinals this weekend. They have a bottom 5, probably defense. That's certainly fair to say. And they have an upper echelon offense. Is that upper echelon offense real? We don't know because they haven't faced a real defense. And it's a rookie quarterback. Yes, there are Strouds sometimes. Once in a while, you run into those. But the majority of the time, I'm going to bet against that happening. I'm not saying Daniels is going to have a bad year overall, but to continue at this pace, probably not going to happen.